The 8 months at Indiana since the firing of Tom Allen, really exemplifying the revolving door nature of modern college football. The Hoosiers lost 38 players to the transfer portal. It's the most in the Big Ten, 2 ahead of Michigan State, which also went through a coaching change. Only Colorado has had more departures since the end of last season. That revolving door, of course, swings both ways, and the Hoosiers got plenty of reinforcements in the portal. Their 31 incoming transfers tied for second nationally, also behind only the Buffs. IU will be relying on transfers to elevate things, have a Big Ten low 2 returning all-conference players. That list of newcomers includes more than a dozen from James Madison, 2 of whom, wide receiver Elijah Sarratt and running back Kaelon Black, are with Howard.
Talk to me about the transition now at Indiana.
For me, transition's been smooth. Everything that we've been doing at JMU, we've been doing here, so everything's been smooth. No complaints.
And for me, it's been a blessing just being up here at Indiana now. Coach Sig brought his crew, and everything's just been going swell.
What's it like to interact with the new guys?
It's been great. For me, the receiver room is probably the closest receiver room I've been in since I've been to college. Everybody getting along. We've all been great.
And then on my end, it's been very great for the culture. Everyone that was already here is gelling well with the guys from JMU and all the other schools, so I feel like everything's been going fine.
Competition, you guys are accustomed to what competition looks like. What does it look like out on the practice field for you guys?
Competition always, friendly competition though, we helping each other, but we understand that everybody trying to get that starting spot, so everybody's working every single day, which is good. Competition makes everybody better.
Being able to step up to this level, do you have a chip on your shoulder?
Definitely.
Is that part of it?
It has to be part of it, coming up to, the power forward level, you playing against bigger guys, faster guys, so you want to show that you belong.
But you belong, right?
For sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
Talk to me a little bit about, just what the offense has to do for you guys to be as successful as you want to be.
Not turn the ball over, of course, and just be consistent. Go out there, every practice, try to stack them days up, and everything going to fall into place. So I trust the coaches with what they telling us to do. They're going to get the ball in our hands, and we're going to make some plays.
Practice is really fast. I mean, I'm looking at the watch. So you guys are really efficient out there. Is that something that it's always been that way?
It's definitely always been this way. Being with Coach Sig for all my time in college, he's always emphasized being efficient and making sure we're having a clean practice. And if he doesn't like it, he's going to say something. He's a very fiery coach, so we're going to make sure we're on our P's and Q's.
How often the guys that have decided to stay kind of pick you guys' brain to just, what the culture has been like, what they're trying to instill, and about the coaches here?
Every day people picking my brain, but it's good. I like, you got to bring the coach over here. We come from a winning culture, and we try to bring winning ways this is. So any way we can help, we're going to.
When you start to think about the things that the program has to do, and particularly on the offensive side, what do you need to do to be successful as a program?
To be successful as a program, we're just going to follow our IQ and our motive, just being fast, physical, and relentless, and just playing our brand of football, the Indiana way, and just making sure that we, just being locked in as a team, everyone just holding each other accountable and being ourselves.
Talk to me about the quarterback position.
Quarterback, great. Everybody, the whole room looks great. They've been delivering the ball. Whoever's out there, we ready to rock with them.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for taking the time. Appreciate it. Good luck this season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Slow enough to where I don't even know if he needs to attempt to throttle down, just let his normal speed play it as fast as you can for him, and naturally you'll be 20 yards behind everybody. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Hey, we're just working apex footwork right here. Okay, I know it's a small detail, but this is a game of inches and angles. Inches and angles. Hip. Bang, good. Inside out to that hip. Good, sliding patient. The eyes are still here, good. Is tempo drill your favorite drill? What? You like tempo drill? Is it your favorite drill? Yeah, against the coaches? You like that one?
No.
Why?
I got it right.
Chance to listen in there to defensive coordinator Bryant Haines, mic'd up here at Indiana's practice. Coach Haines joins me now, and you're an Ohio guy. You played at Ball State. You've been a GA at Ohio State and at Indiana, so I guess I start by saying welcome back to the Midwest. How does it feel to be back kind of in your comfort zone geographically?
Well, thanks, Dave. Glad to be back. I love being back in the Midwest. As you said, this is where I'm from. This is home base. Love this conference, love this league, even though it's changed a little bit here in my return to the Big Ten. But I'm right back at home, kind of where it all began for me as a coach.
Yeah, so give us a sense for how you feel like the league has changed. I mean, obviously there are a bunch of new schools since you were here with Coach Wilson. But aside from that, like schematically, do you think the league is similar, or do you think there's been an evolution?
I think there's been an evolution across college football, to be honest with you, and definitely shows up in this conference too, especially when you bring in these schools from out west. I think what they do in terms of spreading defenses out, making you play in space, I think that's a new addition to the Big Ten Conference. But there's still some of that old Big Ten in there too. So some run the ball, knock you off the ball, win the line of scrimmage. So you kind of get all phases of football in the Big Ten, and it's a beautiful league.
Well, we echo that sentiment, by the way. Give us an idea of your philosophy. And there's some interesting stuff. I mean, you sent 5 rushers more than any other defensive coordinator in all the FBS last year. So I know at James Madison, you guys created issues for people with pressure. Was that because of the personnel you had, or is that just who you are?
I think a little bit of both. We were really good up front at my previous stop, and even before my stop there, I've always kind of tended to be an aggressive coach, and I think Coach Cignetti likes that. He likes to attack. His mindset is to be fast and physical and aggressive on defense, and we believe in that. So that's kind of who I am at the core. So I like bringing 5, and sometimes I'll bring 6. And when I'm not doing that, I would like the quarterback to think that I am. So at least maybe we can get a clock running on his mindset.
How much does it help to have the number of guys that you brought from JMU? Like, what does that allow you to do that perhaps you wouldn't normally be able to do when you're starting at a new place?
Yeah, I don't want to undersell this. It's been crucial to what we're doing here because I am bringing a lot of the philosophy, not all of it, but a lot of that philosophy that we had at JMU. So those guys grew up in the system. They know the system. They know the run fits, the pass fits. They know the blitzes and the terminology. A lot of calls have different built-in checks. It's a hefty defense. There's a lot of content to it. A lot of communication has to take place. Having those JMU guys that grew up in the system has made this transition much smoother. Who
are some of the guys that you're going to be relying on, names that Big Ten fans should know? These are going to be the big headliners of this IU defense.
Yeah, I think it all starts with Aiden Fisher. He's the middle linebacker, and the linebackers are kind of the quarterback of the defense. So he kind of runs the show, to be honest with you. And then the linebacker playing right next to him, Jalen Walker, is a name to keep an eye on. Up front, James Carpenter and Mikail Kamara, 2 other guys that came from JMU, very disruptive guys that grew up in the system. Linnell Carr off the edge is a good player. D'Angelo Pons at boundary corner. Yeah. I'm sure you guys saw it today. I mean, yeah, he has an island, on the perimeter that he's aligned on. So those are some of the names you got to keep an eye on.
We were talking a little bit off the top just about kind of how the league has evolved. I'm guessing you spent a lot of time watching film and trying to figure out, hey, what are we up against? Is there a continuity to it, or does the West Coast do those additions kind of throw off that continuity?
I would say that they're different. They're different, but every team is different. And I didn't watch as much of the opponent because every team has changed so much. And that's kind of the new thing about football, too, is Washington football is going to be an entirely different team. Yes. The Michigan offense is going to be an entirely different offense, at least of who the people are. Maybe the scheme doesn't change that much. So I didn't get lost in the minutia of watching all these teams. I just kind of believe in what I believe in, and I'm more interested in Indiana, our defense, as opposed to so-and-so's offense.
So describe your defense when it's clicking on all cylinders.
It should be very aggressive. It should be very vertical, creating knockback at the line of scrimmage. So you should see our defense surging into the backfield of the offense. That's what it looks like when it's playing at a high level. You should see a really fast defense. Second and third level fits should be downhill. And you should see a lot of what we call splash plays. Those are the plays where you're like, oh, who is that guy? Whether it's a big hit on a receiver, a sack on a quarterback, we search for explosive plays on defense. We don't play a conservative style, and that's what we believe in.
Well, saw some of that today. It was fun to watch. Bryant Haines, defensive coordinator. Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Back in Bloomington, and when asked about his track record, Curt Cignetti said simply, quote, "I win, Google me." We did just that, and truthfully, this story does check out. 84 games over 500 in his 13 seasons as head coach, 19-4 in his last 2 years at JMU after that school transitioned to FBS, including a top 25 ranking in their very first year at the top level of the sport. They are the first school ever to do that. The Dukes were ranked for 7 weeks over the last 2 years. The Hoosiers have been ranked for 13 weeks over the last 30 years. Hoosiers head coach Curt Cignetti with me now. And Coach, you look at that and it points out how challenging it's been to win here through the years. It doesn't mean that it can't be done. We have seen it done in the time we've been at the Big Ten Network, but it's been hard to do it consistently. So as you look at IU and try to figure out what your plan is, what do you think the way to win is here?
I mean, the blueprint's the blueprint. Recruiting, development, retention. And you got to win close games and build momentum, and then things snowball. You know what I mean? Look at when Bill Snyder went to Kansas State how many years ago. The most losses in college football, and been a consistent winner ever since. There's some other schools too. So the fundamentals are the fundamentals. There's no magic wand.
That being said, you appear to have a little bit of a magic wand in the places that you've been, particularly in the first year. I mean, you've gone to each place and you've won right away. And, you know, IUP, obviously there's a pretty decent track record there. But Elon, as you were pointing out to us earlier, there wasn't a track record at all in the recent history, and you won right away. You won right away at JMU. What's it going to take to win right away at Indiana?
I think the same stuff, really. I mean, you know, one day at a time, get better, improve. You got to win those close games, man. You get them to play the way you want them to play, one play at a time, not affected by the circumstances of the game. You play your best football at the end, make the key plays, win those close games. You build momentum, belief, confidence. That's how it's happened in the past.
And one of the ways to help build that momentum and confidence is to be with guys who have already done it before. And I think that's one thing that's really interesting is that you bring a lot of players with you from James Madison and 6 of the 10 members of your staff. How does that continuity help in terms of, even though it is a new place, maybe continuing some of the momentum you built elsewhere?
Yeah, very unique. I mean, college football has really changed, compared to the other ones, jobs. It's helped a lot because those guys come from a championship culture, and you're trying to change the way people think, and we have a lot of new faces here, and those guys know the way it needs to be done to be a champion, and it rubs off on others. So I think it's facilitated the progress we've made in terms of our culture, our identity, and our mindset.
What is that culture? Describe it.
High standards, expectations, and everything you do, how you do something's how you do everything. Accountability throughout the entire organization, and you know, the identity of being a relentless competitor. It's just going to keep coming after you and after you. You got to be resilient and relentless.
Who are the players that you think are best exemplifying that culture here?
I think you look at like Aiden Fisher, Jalen Walker, D'Angelo Pons, Kamara, Carpenter, you know, on defense. Offensively, Elijah Sarratt, Kaelon Black. You know, those are guys that do it day in, day out, and it rubs off on the other guys.
I mentioned the coaching continuity, the fact that both of your coordinators are with you. What does that allow you to do in terms of, you know, the fact that you don't have to kind of become familiar with them and they don't have to become familiar with how you operate? How does that allow you to kind of implement your system?
Yeah, well, we can't let familiarity breed complacency. Right. So we always have to have the edge and keep getting better. But they know what to expect from me. I pretty much know what to expect from them. And, you know, let's face it, it's hard hiring new coaches all the time, especially at coordinator levels. Those are big transitions. So the continuity, when you have very capable people at the top, you know, has been key to our success.
I did think it was interesting you kept one coach from the last staff, and it was Bob Bostad. Tell me why.
Just a name that I've been familiar with for about a dozen years, had a great national reputation, and everybody told me on the front end that the line had improved tremendously. And so it was a pretty easy decision for me and for him. And I'm glad he's here.
With Mike Shanahan and that offense, one of the areas where you guys have been really good through the years is quarterback play. You've had great QBs in your time at JMU. There's a ton of quarterbacks in the portal. You went in and got Curtis Rourke from Ohio. Tell me what made him the right guy.
You know, he was the best available to us at that particular time, had played a lot of football, winning football, player of the year in the MAC in 22, good decision maker, made the throws on tape, ran well enough to get you a first down, was smart enough to get you back to 2nd and 10 when in a bad spot. So, you know, he's got a high football IQ. And then, you know, behind him, you know, I think Taven Jackson's making progress and has the tools. And, the two young ones, the two freshmen have futures too.
That's Aiden Jackson. Really nice day here today as we watched him go through practice. On the defensive side, you guys were very aggressive at JMU. Do you envision carrying that philosophy over here to IU?
Well, I know Bryant, and I know how he thinks, so I can't imagine, leopard doesn't change its spots. So, we'll see.
Okay. For you, the fact that you have done this for as long as you have, right, with 41 years of coaching, if you're going to make mistakes early on, you make them at Indiana of Pennsylvania, with all due respect, rather than Indiana of Indiana, right? It feels like that's,
why not?
that's the better place to do it. What have you learned about yourself in this climb that you think will help you in this spot?
I guess what I really learned was I knew what I was doing. And you change. As you get older, you change. And as you're thrown into new situations, they force you to adjust and draw upon your strengths. But, you got to have really capable people on your staff. It's all about people. You got to bring the right people in your staff and the right players, too, and create a culture where they can thrive and become the best they can be.
I mentioned IUP. Your dad was a great coach there, a Hall of Fame coach, College Football Hall of Fame. Spent some time at West Virginia as well. I know he's no longer with us, but what were the biggest things that you learned from him that you've implemented in your coaching career?
He was a stand-up guy, pretty direct. Would always tell you what was on his mind. You didn't always like it, but he'd tell you. And I'm kind of the same way. I try to make my words count, especially when I message with the team, because once they turn you off, it's hard to get them back. But we run pretty tight ship here, and we're a little old school maybe in some ways, but players like it, and can't wait to roll it out there the first day and see what we got.
We can't wait to see it either. Coach, thanks so much for your hospitality and letting us watch this Hoosier team here today.
Thank you.
If you want to get a sense for what IU's defense will look like personnel-wise, your best bet might be to simply watch James Madison's team from a year ago. All four of these impact newcomers played for the Dukes in 2023. D'Angelo Pons was one of the best freshmen in the country. James Carpenter, an experienced veteran up front. Aiden Fisher led the Dukes in tackles last year. Mikail Kamara in the top 10 in the nation in tackles for loss. Fisher and Kamara with Howard.
I'd like to pick your brains a little bit about the philosophy of the defensive side of the ball. Talk to me about that.
I mean, I'll talk to from my defensive line perspective. I think the way we kind of play is kind of letting us play. So we're allowed to, slip blocks and allowed to just have a lot more freedom than I think even in previous years. I think coaches really harps on making matchups versus just X's and O's and letting us go out there and make plays and play fast and kind of have these guys correct off of us. We got him, we got Walk, we got guys that are fast and smart that could just make us right.
Now, that's interesting because then you go to your level, right?
Right.
You're having to read off of them. So do you like it better when they have the freedom up front?
So I think our biggest thing is like being able to be a fast defense. So allowing them to kind of do their thing, have that freedom. We play off them. We're reading blocks fast. We're getting off blocks fast. I think that's what makes our defense so good and physical and fast. And then on the back end, we get into those coverages. We mix a lot of things in, make one thing look like something, but it's really not. It's another thing. And I think that's our biggest thing is just mixing it up and being able to run multiple things out of one look.
Spent a lot of time watching your group work today, and it has to be quick and it was precise. And it was interesting to watch just how it carried from, say, the first group to the last group, but you guys were all on the same page and understanding what was expected. How important are the small details to this defense?
The small details are really everything, especially to the linebackers. When we talk to each other, it's always about there's no drop-off. It doesn't matter if the ones are in, threes are in, the guys that usually get, a couple reps each day at camp, it doesn't matter. Just no drop-off. We know the standard and kind of raising that each and every day.
How do you combine the cultures together from last year's team to this year's team?
Honestly, it's been a pretty smooth transition. I think, especially throughout spring ball, the change that we made from spring ball to summer workouts to now, just slowly integrating all of our philosophies, all of our, the way that we think mentally, and kind of combining that. And I think it's just all about guys buying in, and I think a lot of these guys are buying in. You see, like someone, for example, like Marcus, who was here last year, Nell, who was here last year, and they have like a different spark in their eyes. They're like, okay, like this year's different for sure. So they're just buying into everything. You know, all the advice I'm giving them, and so on.
What kind of advice do you give? Do they want to know how the coaches coach, or what exactly is it when they talk about advice?
A lot of it is scheme wise, as far as like when can they take their shots, when do they got to be more conservative, and then technique. You know, because every scheme is different, so your technique's gonna be a little bit different. So I'm just helping them understand that. Because I've been in the same scheme for 3 years now, and it's changed, you know, year by year, but it's basically the same. So just trying to have them play fast, and just like we said, like the faster that we play up front, the faster that they can play. So that's the biggest thing. And then even as far as, you know, getting in extra work, getting in treatment and things like that, just all the little details that help you win.
Is there an appreciation for facilities and just what you have an opportunity to utilize now?
Oh, for sure. Looking back on it, the things that, you know, we used to have at previous schools, you talk to guys from all over the place on this team now. You know, got a lot of transfers. So, even their appreciation for it, just this place is kind of taking it to another level. You know, the weight room, the fields, treatment, the things that we can treat our bodies with. It's just huge, and it's something that's going to kind of propel this program forward, I think.
What are some of the things you guys were able to do to bring this unit, to bring really the team together when you have so many guys that are from different places, and now you want to be one team and you want to be successful? How do you come together? I
think initially, first of all, you got to get to know each other. You know, you're playing next to each other for 14, 15, maybe 17 weeks in a row. First thing you got to do is you got to get to know each other, taking your position group out to dinner, doing little things on the weekends together. Just make sure you're spending time with people outside of the facility. So once you get in the facility, you have some familiarity with each other. Everything just flows a lot easier. You know, you build that trust, you build that camaraderie, and everything just flows a lot better.
Yeah, I heard you throw that 17-18 game out there. I like where you're thinking. Guys, thanks a lot for taking some time. Appreciate it. Have a great season. Stay healthy.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A closer look at some of the top offensive newcomers for the Hoosiers, led by Rourke at quarterback. Wide receiver additions include Elijah Sarratt, who hauled in 21 TD passes over the last 2 years at JMU, and Miles Price from Texas Tech. Hoosiers also brought in 2 running backs from James Madison, along with former Demon Deacon Justice Ellison. And the man who will oversee that personnel, offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan, is with us now. Coach, for those who didn't watch you guys at JMU, give us a sense for philosophically what your offense looks like.
Yeah, we're going to be mainly based out of 11 personnel. We're going to try to be multiple. So, you know, schematically running the football up front. We're going to have a lot of different RPOs attached to a lot of those things. And then we want to be able to throw the ball down the field, be explosive, and you know, find ways to get our playmakers the ball. So we can mix up tempos, we can shift, motion, try to create some confusion on defense. But at the end of the day, we should be able to run the ball to win a game or throw it, whatever's needed on that day.
You guys have a great history with quarterbacks. There are a ton of quarterbacks in the portal. You went after Curtis Rourke. What made him the right guy?
Yeah, just his maturity really sticks out to you whenever you talk to him on the phone, to meet him in person. He had a lot of success at Ohio, winning football games. He was able to, you know, lead them to come from behind victories. He's played in big stadiums that, you know, we'll see in the Big Ten. And he just checks a lot of boxes. He can win from the pocket, and he's willing to run whenever he needs to as well. So just the kind of guy that you want to have in your program.
How important is it to be able to have players that also have come with you to this spot to move the program forward?
Yeah, I think it's been big. I think it's helped, you know, the guys that were here and the other guys from different schools to just see the expectation, learn the offense or defense or special teams, and you know, just kind of lead the way, you know, and be, you know, coaches off the field, and you know, they know what we want for the most part, and I think that has been a huge help to get to where we are at today.
Well, you know, ball is ball, right? No matter what level it is, if you can run it, block, tackle, those are the things that you need to do to be successful. Are there any wrinkles that you feel like you need to maybe add to what's going on now to compete at this level?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think every year us coaches, and this really starts with Coach Cignetti from the top down, is we're always trying to evolve schematically to do things that we feel like will fit our players and personnel, but will also be able to provide some relief. We know, and it was the same thing during the transition at JMU from the FCS to the FBS, is you got some D linemen up front that are going to be people that you need to always be aware of every single play. So I think that'll be a very similar situation for us here. So we're definitely putting some new things in that maybe we didn't have in previous years.
You mentioned having to being able to have those explosive plays. Who are some of the players that you believe you're going to lean on to give you some of that?
Yeah, well, we want to make sure all of our skill guys are going to be able to, but our running back room, I think, is really they're really competing right now. They're taking every rep, it is a game rep, and you see these guys breaking out some runs and being able to catch the ball in the backfield. And then at receiver, we feel like we have a pretty deep room. Sarratt, Mikail, Miles Price, Keyshawn Williams, Miles Cross has had a lot. Anderson Kobe, Cooper, he's made a lot of big plays.
You got a lot of guys.
That's just, so I hope I didn't leave anybody out there. But and then our tight end room, Zach Horton, he really emerged last year for us at JMU as a big play kind of guy and a guy that you can always rely on. So we got other tight ends as well that are capable of making some plays.
I think one of the things that really stands out in studying Coach Cignetti, and obviously you've been with him for a long time, is just you guys have won. Yeah. You've won at an incredible rate. So help us understand why. Like, what has made him such a good head coach, and then the six of you who came here with him as part of his coaching staff, what has made you guys so cohesive?
Yeah, I think he really keeps the main thing, and his messaging to us as coaches and then down to the players and everybody in the building is very consistent, focusing on the things that you need to focus on to win games, and not focusing on stats or certain things. You just really the day-to-day grind, the day-to-day process, always working to find an edge that may be able to get you over the top. And then from a player standpoint, we just want them to play without looking at the scoreboard, regardless of the situation, the environment, and just doing what they do on the practice field every day, taking it over to the games. And I think there's a lot of other things I'm probably missing there, but I think just Coach Sig, whenever he speaks, it really resonates with everybody in the building.
Mike Shanahan, great to meet you. Best of luck. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Wrapping things up here from Bloomington, a look at the Hoosiers' schedule, which starts on the Big Ten Network against Florida International. Friday night primetime on our airwaves in Week 2. They open conference play at the Rose Bowl, their first regular season game in California in 42 years. The Hoosiers play Michigan and Ohio State back-to-back in November, albeit with a bye week between, and they finish here against Purdue in the battle for the old Oaken Bucket. Now, Howard, you look at that schedule, and it's fairly favorable, particularly the non-conference. They were supposed to play Louisville. The game ended up getting canceled. They replaced it with Western Illinois, so a chance to get some momentum early. They have 8 home games this year. They still play Michigan and Ohio State, but again, it's later in the year, so you have a chance to get things going early on. I think you have to look at that schedule and say, pretty favorable.
Yeah, you got to like what the schedule looks like and the fact that they have these home games, right? And don't have to worry about going on the road early. You talk about building that confidence, and that's what you want to be able to do. It's the guys that came over from James Madison, they know what to expect. But also to have the guys that were holdovers to have an opportunity to experience this type of culture, getting those wins early will be significant.
Right. I think that's just one of the things that Curt Cignetti has emphasized is this notion of changing the culture. And you would know better than me, but it just feels like winning tends to perpetuate itself. And if you do get off to a good start and you feel the emotions that surround those victories, all of a sudden you start, hey, you believe in this guy. This guy has a formula. Look at what he's done. He was 52-9 at James Madison, and all of a sudden it takes off. So that's the big picture stuff. What about as we look into a little bit more of the granular and what we saw here today on that practice field. What do you take away from spending time with the Hoosiers?
Well, I think one of the things, they're going to practice hard. They're very efficient when they're on the field. They know what they want to get done. There were rumors, a lot of talk about just how quickly these practices happen, and they do. It's not that they're trying to fly through it, but they get what they need to get done in a timely fashion and don't spend a lot of time on the field, which I think helps a team that's really thin at some positions. But this is still a program that's going to be relying upon the quarterback position to be able to win games for them.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how it evolves between Rourke and Jackson, frankly. But, yeah, I'm fascinated by this team.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things in college football today, you may not like the portal. There's some people like it, some people don't. But if you're at a place, it's because you want to be there.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to leave. There's nothing easier than saying, I'm out of here. And so you do have this feeling that those who are here are a real cohesive unit who believe in what they're doing.
Which is a big part of it, and I think that's why it was so important for him to bring the coaches over that he brought over, the players that he brought over, because that's going to help that transition. And I think changing that mentality is huge, and you need to have a lot of guys that are going to buy in, and that's what they have to do here.
And Curt Cignetti said it, have to win those close games. They didn't win them down the stretch last year. Ultimately, it's probably what cost Tom Allen his job, and it's why we have a new coaching staff in place here in Bloomington. We're a year removed from having a new coaching staff in place in West Lafayette. Ryan Walters entering year 2 with the Boilermakers, and that's where we are headed next. We're going to take the short jaunt up I-65. We'll check out the Boilers, going to watch them go through a scrimmage on Saturday, so it should be fascinating. We'll see how all those pieces are fitting together for Purdue. Thanks to everyone here in Bloomington. Always a great day visiting with the Hoosiers. We'll see you next time from West Lafayette.